Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're gonna do some boiler wood. I got 2 rows. We'll see how well this works out with 2 separate logs on here. I got some big boys there, oak and maple. I think it'll be okay. I mean, whatever falls in first is what I'll pull through. Still got probably at least another whole live deck worth of logs. I got the 12-way out, I got the 4-way in. Got to put this bladder here to collect sawdust, so we'll play with that up and down. I may have to resplit some of those big pieces in there, but no big deal. I mean, I want them big still, but like that log's like perfect. But depending on how they look, I mean, obviously that big one, that's huge. So we'll get the sawdust over here, collect that. I got the 4 totes set up. We'll see. I don't know if I got them in the right spot or not, but one will collect first, and I would think it would billow into it, hopefully. But we will for sure fill these 4, no problem. And then I'll move them quick and get some other ones. But yeah, we'll get her warmed up here and we'll get to splitting. All right, guys, well, that didn't take very long. We got these 4 filled. Had to push a couple over, but they're full. I mean, yeah, obviously you can make a lot of wood quick when you're cutting them, you know, 2 feet long. So obviously some small stuff here, but those 4 are full. There might be a couple slivers in the middle there. We'll get that. That's what I got left. So that's probably at least a tote or so. That's why I was kind of throwing some in here. I was hoping I could take a couple pieces from time to time and throw them in so I wouldn't have to move these and get a couple more, but that's okay. I'll take these out of here, and I'll probably end up putting 2 side by side, like right here in the middle, and then I'll just swivel the conveyor to get it. So but yeah, you can make a lot of wood quick when you don't really care about the quality control. There's big pieces, but these are, to me, these are premier. They're premier, however you say it, I'm drawing a blank, but premium boiler wood. The longer, that could be a lot bigger. That's a good piece there. Bigger the better, but I'm glad I didn't make these production wood because they're kind of punky. I mean, this, you know, that's not ideal. This is, though. That's premium there, but let me look at the knots and stuff. But so that'd be nice. 5-6 boiler totes. Now obviously when it's not that cold, that'll last, you know, a couple weeks. Those 4 there, when it's negative 10 degrees out, and if I'm heating everything, that's 4 days. So not very long. So it really is weather dependent and what I have everything set to. If I'm not heating the garages or the shops, just the house, those 4 totes will last, you know, a week and a half. But I heat everything because I don't like my equipment getting cold, and I gotta go to work or take the tractor out of the garage and it's cold. It's not ideal. I mean, everybody understands. Anybody gets it that parks their truck or cars outside in the winter and everything's cold. Nothing works well when it's cold, so I'd rather it be warm. Yes, it's more wood. Yes, if I wasn't doing that, we could still be running the boiler right now to heat the home, but it is what it is. Now that it's 40s, some days it's in the 50s, it's not so bad. The garages and stuff can be what it is. So but yeah, boiler wood, we're starting to accumulate some. I mean, I got a long way to go. The only good thing is, at least when I produce 3.5, 4 cords, every 4 cords roughly, I'll have about two boiler totes of cutoffs. So I mean, you know, actually I haven't even done the math. If I do 1,000 cords this year, divide that by 2, right? No, hold on, let me think here. Should have thought about this before I did the video, but 1,000 cords, so every 4 I get 2. So you divide 1,000 by 4, right? So that's 250. No, yeah, 250. It's a lot of boiler totes. Is that right? Yeah, 200 to 250, whatever. Boiler totes. So that'll get me through for sure a winter. Holy crap. I was only anticipating having 100 or so, 150, because I continue to make wood throughout the winter, so it's not like I don't have it coming in. So sorry about the math. I'm sure somebody will correct me on that, but you saw that one piece go through, which was gigantic, which makes that one look small. No problem. So now, yes, I could have had all this go through the 12-way at the same length, but some of these pieces are pretty big and knotty. There's no point in putting all that excess pressure on the splitting and then on the ram. And I don't want those pieces that small to throw in the boiler. That's ridiculous. The bigger stuff, the better. Obviously, as you guys know who have boilers or have experiences with them, know that. So, yep. Curious, the guys that do produce wood for a living, not part-time, but for a living, how much wood are you looking to grow this year in production? What do you anticipate production-wise? How much you're going to make or sell this year? I guess sell. Have ready to go, that is. Like I said, I'm hoping to do around 1,000 full cords, that is. So so 3,000-ish face cords. They got a long way to go. Not even halfway there, but like I said, the kiln will keep me up with the drying production. Like I sold out last year early, real early, and I sold double what I sold last year, or not double, but 1.5. So as long as I have it, I'll sell it. I know that. I got the machine to produce it, no problem. So, but yeah, there'll be a couple weeks, probably in a couple months, when it's going to be gangbusters, like every day, all day. When I say all day, I mean sun up to sundown. So that'll be, you know, it's getting later in the day that the sun's out. By then it'll be 8, 9 o'clock, and if I start at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I mean, I'll produce 20 cords a day, easy. It's a lot of wood. That'll let me catch up, you know. I'll have some extra hands on deck to help me produce it that much that quick. So if I do 20 a day, I could do 100 a week, easy. Yeah, I'll catch up, no problem. I'm not too concerned about it. So it's a lot of work, but if I can bang it out quick, no problem. Because like I said, I can do 3.5, almost 4 cords of wood in about 2 hours by myself. So. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know how much wood you guys are going to produce this year, how much you anticipate, or how much you would like to produce. I'm always curious to see what others do, and you know, and also what you're using to process the wood. Are you using a firewood processor? If so, what do you have? If you're splitting with a traditional splitter or commercial splitter, I'd like to know. Or you're splitting with an axe. I've been there, I've done that, that's how I started. So I'm always curious to see, you know, I know a lot of guys will try to do 50 cords a year. That seems about the right number for somebody that doesn't do it full time. That's still a lot of wood. Hell, I used to produce 50 cords of wood for years, until one day I said, why am I only doing 50? You know, I made it to 100, then 2, 4, 6. Last year, I can't remember what I did. I think it was like 700-ish. They go from 700 to 1,000 full cords. It's a lot more wood, but I'm further than I was last year at this point, so that's good. And I got a bigger machine to do it now. So I know I'm just kind of rambling, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I know some of you guys like to see that, but so you got to see the 4-way in action. Yeah, I mean. 98% of the time I got the 12-way, and there's no reason for me to run the 4-way. Only time I run it is obviously for boiler wood. Otherwise, you can manipulate that wedge to whatever you want per wood size, and once you know how to use it, it's fast. You don't need any other wedge. You don't need a 4-way unless you're doing boiler wood or something. You don't need a 6-way. You sure as hell don't need an 8-way. That's the only wedge you need, because you can lift it up and just have it, you know, split it 2-way or a 4-way technically. Or, you know, well, whatever. So I mean, you see, I've been using that wedge for so long, and it doesn't matter the size. It could be 4-inch wood, it could be 18 to 24-inch, and it works just fine. If you want premier, precise split size, which obviously most customers want, or do you want boiler wood with the 4-way? Because there's no point in having a processor, I think, if you have to re-split the wood. Why spend all that money on a processor if you got to retouch it? You know, and if you're one of those that just, you know, you don't care about your quality of wood. I know I'm rambling again here, but no, I'm not saying I don't have any resplits off of that 12-way. When I'm cranking on it, there may be a piece that gets by me. Like if you're doing a 20-inch piece log, okay, well, this one's probably pretty close to that. That's probably about 18. Okay, you're gonna, and if it's not centered properly on the wedge, there may be a piece that's a little bit bigger. And since we stack here, quality controls, I can grab that piece. So here's an example. On average, every 4 cords of wood I do, I probably have a heaping wheelbarrow of resplits. So out of 4 cords of wood. So that's not that much that I have to redo. Now, if I go slower and I really pay attention, I may have a couple pieces, no big deal. So it's not that bad. But I've seen some videos where guys are pumping the wood out through their multi-wedge or whatever, And depending on your demographics, some people may not care that, you know, they get some bigger pieces from time to time or whatever. My customers care, I care. And if you have to always retouch the wood, I mean, I don't care how fast your processor is or whatever that may be. If you got to retouch it again, it's just pointless. I mean, you're spending way more time to resplit it. Whatever, that's just my process. I know a lot of people are like, well, you stack your wood, you're wasting all that time. That may be so. But I know exactly how much wood I have to the T, to the dollar amount. I know what I can sell. I know what's ready to go. It's got everything has the same airflow versus a huge pile of wood. So to each their own. I know what my quality is. I know what my customers want. I'm not lazy. At the end of the day, I know everyone's like, well, if you get so big, you don't have the time to stack. That I disagree with that. Either A, you're not charging enough. B, you don't have any employees, or you don't want to pay anyone to stack the wood. You're still going to make money. Trust me. Now, if you're loose splitting into a tote, I think that's 10 times better than splitting into a monster pile. Airflow through a tote versus a fucking 20-foot tall mountain of wood. Sorry about my language, but I get irritated when I see this discussion all the time on wood. The only time I feel like you should be piling it in huge mountains of wood is if that wood stays there for 2 years. Okay, and maybe you have a monster front end loader to rotate the huge pile, right? That is the only way I think a huge mountain of wood on the bottom is going to dry. Okay, and these, and you know, and you look at anybody who does 4,000, 6,000 full cords of wood a year, they will straight up tell you when they make that pile of wood, that's 2 years from now. So yeah, now, yes, could they take a little hit and have some guys, you know, stack all that stuff? Now, like I said, loose filling it just like this, but production wood, maybe not in the bag. I do this because of boiler wood, so it's all separated. So in case I'm not around, somebody else knows that's what that is. And then you could double stack those, obviously, or triple stack. That will dry 10 times better than it just being on a pile on pallets, okay? Because not only that, either A, you're going to be driving on those pallets to scoop it out, right? Which is time. That's time. Or you're going to have to hand throw it into a trailer or a truck. You're wasting so much time doing that. You should have wasted the time off the rip and get it stacked. Okay, that's my thought on it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Nobody tell me what your thoughts are. If I'm wrong, it'll dry just fine. It all depends on where you live, geographic wise. I have a lot of airflow here, enough, but I don't think it's enough like some guys may have, where it's a constant wind tunnel. B, I don't like it because I don't know exactly how much wood I have. Yeah, you know, okay, you get a 12 cord load, you process 12 cords, you don't have 12 cords. Sorry, you don't. You maybe have 11 that you made out of that. So it's all a guesstimate, right? Because you have cutoffs, you have some rotten pieces, you just don't know what you got. I'm sorry, but I do this to make a living, so I want to know exactly to the dollar amount what I have to sell. It's like putting money into a bank and they'll just give you a random number. Well, you might have $20,000, or maybe you have 50. I mean, what the hell? I mean, unless you're doing this as a hobby and you really don't care, then whatever. I care. Like I said, I'm just giving you my thoughts. I mean, I do this for a living, so I kind of have some skin in the game, but everyone does. It's why it's a free world. Currently, you can do what you want. Everyone's process is different. I'm just not one of those that are because somebody does it this way, everybody jumps ship, and that's how everybody does it. That's not how that goes. There's a reason why there's a million brands of soda to buy. It's not just one. Not that that's a good comparison, but a little bit. So all right, I'm gonna get these totes moved. I'm gonna bang out the rest of this, which will probably take me 5 minutes. I'm not gonna record and show you the guys that, I mean, you've seen it. Obviously she flies. Now it actually worked out pretty well stacking them both like this. There was that one big log, which I'm sure you saw. I didn't really get to fight with it, but it was just teetering on here. It got bumped from a log from over there, so I had to make sure that she didn't fall in here. because that would have been a pain in the butt to get out. But I just rolled it over once I had room, so it worked out well. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. But as always, keep burning.